Hey.
What a lovely surprise. Very
Very good. Yay. So this is how the field works, no? When I was writing the blog post a few days ago, the September blog post, My Father's Eyes, I had not the faintest idea
that it was Father's Day coming
Father's
up.
Day,
Wow,
next
that's so funny.
Isn't it? Beautiful. So Tracy's not coming in. She said she has her wedding today, and Shakti hopefully hasn't fallen asleep. So let's cross fingers that she comes in.
Who's getting married?
Don't know. Tracy said somebody. Yeah, maybe I don't quite realized. But she, it's a virtual wedding, which is quite exciting.
Right.
But she's at the physical part involved, I believe.
Sounded like maybe it was her son or daughter or something. Could that be?
It didn't sound so close, but maybe, yeah, maybe.
Son-in-law? Did I understand?
Who?
Did she say son-in-law, like the son of my partner? That maybe. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, Nam Shakti. Hello, welcome. So you have just missed our little party here that we had in our waiting room, but you will see it on the recording. Today is Father's Day in New Zealand, and we are celebrating that a little bit. Feel free to unmute yourself so we have a little bit of a chit chat. And I do gallery view. I think that's better. So.
And a holiday weekend as well.
You have also Father's Day?
No, it's a Memorial Day weekend here. So we had a party in my house yesterday.
What kind of memorial? I mean,
some kind of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Veterans, right? It's not Veterans Day, but it's something.
It's Memorial. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm Spanglish.
Doesn't matter as long as you can party. Who cares? Who cares?
We don't drink alcohol. We just sing karaoke. So it was fun.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we don't drink alcohol neither. Cool, awesome. So welcome back to the third part of our module 2. As I just said, Tracy is on her wedding, so she's gonna see the recording later. And today is Father's Day, yay! So we have a couple of things to do, practical things around the father, I was thinking. But for now, I just bring up our slides and then we go right into that. Let me just screen share again. So, okay. So, 2 strong words, thank you. Just to recap, we have talked about yes and please. And now we are going into the strong words, thank you. We have used them already. You know what it is roughly about, because we are here kind of at the end of the module. So that's a good word to part with for the module 2. When we are talking about, and what we are talking about in this part of module 2 is, we are talking about the morphogenetic field. We will talk about the MFRH, morphic field resonance healing, which is part of what we use when we do the work, family constellation. But I have to warn you, I have created this word, so it is not internationally recognized, but I really like it, and it will be in the future become something. We are talking about the word thank you in the family dynamics. We will talking about traumas in this segment. We will, and we will finally talking about finding what meant other than words, like we talked about words, but also gestures, eyes, and movements. So that's our program for the evening. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Yay! Okay, cool, very good, awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the morphogenetic field. This is, of course, the basis of our work. We don't need to know anything about the morphogenetic field because it just works, and we are tapping into it by intent and participation. That's all you need to know, really, about it, right? But when you are consolidating when you're facilitating family constellations, or when you're talking to others about it, they always ask about the morphogenetic field, and like, how does it work? How is it even possible? And it is good if you have some answers, right, that you can give. So this is why we want to talk about it today. The morphogenetic field is an actual scientific term, and it's been around for a while, but it has been revived by Dr. Rupert Sheldrake. And if you not have seen or read anything of him, I urge you to do it. He is a very interesting man, one of the few scientists I know of that are not like opposing spirituality, but have found spirituality through their science, which is the natural way, actually, right? But you know, probably there is this ancient fight going on, completely rubbish, science versus spirituality, right? While in truth, they go hand in hand, obviously. So that is Dr. Rupert Sheldrake. He's a very interesting man. He has lots of, not lots of, but he has quite a few YouTube footages, and also a very interesting TED talk. Can I ask you to mute yourself? I have a little bit of a hole here, Ali and Mariella. Maybe that is, yeah, that was Ali, okay. So this Mr. Rupert Sheldrake has a really interesting TED talk, which I urge you to see. It's called The Science Delusion. You will find it has millions or billions of hits. Meanwhile, he has been dismissed from the bar, or how they call that, the Science Association. and then he made a TED talk out of it, and then he became so famous that
That's always a good sign when you get sent off the science bar.
Yeah, it's a very good sign, and I think he's admitted again. I don't know, but that completely went the wrong way for the bar or for the association. He is so he is the one who has studied the phenomenon which he then calls the morphogenetic field over 20 years with animals, because he's a biologist, and also with plants and also with crystals. Very interesting man. So what he basically is explaining is how he has observed the morphogenetic field in action, and how he had come to the conclusion that it must be an informing field. This is why you can also, if you if you think that's a tongue tumbler, you can also say the informing field. That's morphogenetic is obviously Latin, a Latin word, but the informing field would be an English term for it. So it's a field of information. You might know that fields are forming, or that fields are created in systems to organize a system. That is a general nature's law. If you have either chaos or you have a system, right? So you have either chaos or a system. And if you have a system, you can observe that informing fields of information are actually structuring and giving it system and making it different to a chaos. So the chaos has no informing field, and the system has informing fields, if you will. Yeah. Okay, so that's important, because what we are talking about when we are explaining why we are getting this information about the family system we are working with, this is why, because it comes from the informing field. The informing field is created for every system. So there is no system without informing fields, because otherwise they wouldn't exist as a system. So everything you can think of that is a system has these morphic fields. Everything, like every flock of bird, every school of fish, every variety of plants, every human, like a group of people. They can be religious, something that binds them together, or it could be a family. They are related by blood or through destiny, as we know. So these are systems, and because they are systems, they have to have informing fields. And that is so natural, actually. That is almost astounding that people are wondering how that is possible, because we all know that how that works. If you pick up the phone and somebody's on there that you wanted to call, these are just typical phenomenons in a informing field, but lots of more. For example, when birds, that's what Rupert Sheldrake explained, how he explained it, when birds, when a flock of birds, of millions of birds, actually turn at the same instant in one direction, there is obviously no communication possible, because communication takes time, and they would all run into each other. If that from the first bird to the millionth bird at the end, the same information turned left, would have been passed on. Obviously, that's not possible. And also, he is explaining it so wonderful with ants. Obviously, all this information, how ants are organizing themselves, cannot be in this tiny wee bit brain of an ant, right? So it must be outside of the ants. It is a field, right? So the fields are not in us, they are not in our brain, they are outside, and we are tapping into the field through our inherent ability as a living being to connect. That's what we do. When we are working in family system, family constellations, we are naturally connected to the field. This is why it is you don't need to learn anything, you don't need to have a specific skill to be a representative, and everybody can jump into a family constellation workshop even if they have never done it before. As you know, right? This is no problem at all. And even somebody who's doubting something so natural as the informing fields cannot then be part of it if that's the intention. Obviously, if you don't have the intention to participate, it's not going to work. So let's assume you have a workshop and somebody brings a friend, drags a friend along who is actually quite resisting to come, and who has not the intent to be part of it. This is might a case where it wouldn't work if you put them up as a because you have a free will. You are not drawn into this field, and you can't help it. You have a will. You can say, no, I don't want to participate, and then you wouldn't. And you wouldn't get the informations neither. So it's participation and intent that lets us come together and do a family constellation by entering into the informing field and getting the information that we need from the representatives of this family through what we talk about later: words, gestures, movements, and eye contact. Right? So we might make later, maybe in module 3, a little exercise that you explain to us the morphic field as if we would be a beginner. That would be a nice exercise. So you can think about some very simple words, how to explain it to your future clients. Okay, yeah, that's a bummer. I really would like to. Shall I try it again? It worked fine when I was testing. I'll do it one more time. No, it doesn't want to do it. Okay, don't worry, I give up. I'm glad that the music at the beginning worked. So that's probably more I can ask for. for today. Okay, right. So the morphogenetic field and how it works in family constellation is exactly that. You are opening up to the field as if you would be a family member. So you are getting the permission, so to speak, from the client who is coming to the family constellation, guided by the field, which is the informing field of this particular family system. And therefore, everybody who is asked to participate in the family constellation has automatically the permission of the family system to be present and be part of it. But it is not. Sometimes you might be asked if it's kind of like if this ancestor that you are working with, that you are representing, comes into you like a possession, almost like, you know, like a spirit. That's what I wanted to say. That is not the case. I mean, it shouldn't be the case. If it's the case, it's not a family constellation, let's put it that way, because you're not working with the morphic field, because the morphic field is only allowing you to get information, right? It is the informing field. It is not. It is not a semi-soluble net or whatnot to let spirits in. You know, that's not what it is. Not at all, right? That's not how it is. You are just tapping into information. This is why such a thing that not being able to come out of a constellation as a representative has actually not to do with the field. It has to do with the person and their mental state, right? So that would be all we talk about in module 3, how to deal with these persons. So the informing field is doing nothing else than giving information, nothing else, right? And there is another YouTube video which is linked here, which I probably don't want to try. I'm tempted, where actually Rupert Sheldrake is actually explaining how the morphic field works in family constellations. Because I know that from Bert Hellinger, he was talking about it. This way long ago. He was visiting Rupert Sheldrake when he heard about his work of the morphic field, and he was just working with family constellation in a phenomenologically way. So he had no science background, or that he had never read anything about this phenomenon that he was using for his family constellations. And then he heard about Rupert Sheldrake, and he visited him in London. And he talked in one of the talks I was. He talked about this visit and how amazing it was when they both met. That they were working on completely different, in completely different fields, if you will, and they were working with the same phenomenon of the morphogenetic field at the same time, and developing it at the same time in two different ways. One is scientific, and the other one is alternative therapeutic. Yeah. It's really, and that is again a sign of the morphic field, because as Rupert Sheldrake will explain in these videos, is that the morphic field, this information that one is gathering, is for all the group. So he's explaining that with in Ireland, where birds or apes, let's say apes, are living, and they discover, it's a closed island, a remote closed island, and they discovered how to use a stone to open up a nutshell. Yeah. That's a new skill. And then it could have been observed that the apes of other islands who had no contact with them but belonged to the same breed, they, a year later, discovered that as well. And it got fast and fast and fast. And all of a sudden, all the apes, they never talked to each other, could use the same tool. So this is the informing field. This is how it works. This is also why it heals, because it is learning. So the informing field is not only giving information, it's also receiving information and learns from it. And this is actually the part that heals a family trauma or a family dynamic. So MFRH, morphogenetic field resonance healing, is just exactly that, put in a word, or in an abbreviation actually, because the word is quite long. You can also abbreviate the morphogenetic with morphic. You know, it's just a little bit less of a tongue stumbler. The morphic field resonance healing, you could also say. And this is just exactly what we do. We are using the informing field, the morphogenetic field, and the resonance of this field with the people to heal a dynamic or trauma in a family system. Yeah. And as resonating with the people is how does it, what is resonating is vibrations, right? So the information, they come not in words. They don't come, you know, it's not somebody whispering in your ear, move your arm left or right. It is a vibration that you are resonating with. You know, we are vibrational beings, and so are the deceased. The vibration is still there. And everything is in vibration. And this vibration is actually that's what is, so to speak, communicating with the persons, and we call that resonance, resonating with another vibration. No. So we are kind of tuning in the same vibration, and then we are able to receive the information. And we don't know actually, it is so automatic, we cannot tell why or how, right? Nobody can say that. If you think of the constellation yesterday, Ali cannot say why she wanted to lay down and close her eyes just before we started. This was not really late. It's not typical for her to fall asleep at this time. But that was already resonance. It was already resonating with the informing field on a vibrational level. And we don't see it, we don't feel it. It doesn't come with bells and whistles. It just happens, right? Because we are open to it. We allow it to happen. And the field, the morphic field, or better say, the family system is more than happy, you know, to share this information with us, because the family system is going towards wholeness always. It doesn't want to be divided. It doesn't want to have these, you know, these dynamics and this suffering. It wants to be healed. It wants to be whole, to move on, you know. So in the morphogenetic field, there is no time and space. Surprise, surprise. We see that all the time, but we probably not really think about it. But that's the case. There is no time and space. So everything that is outside our earthly physical experience is anyhow beyond time and space. So this is actually nothing really new. It's just something that we are in our day-to-day lives not think about. But this is why the dead are not actually dead. They are still vibrating, and the information through trauma that is stored in the family soul is still there. So if somebody thinks they can, you know, escape an unpleasant feeling or situation through suicide, that's a great deception. You know, nothing changes. The same energy, the same vibration, the same suffering will still be around. It is not solved. It's just the bodily hull, or we can call it more spiritual, the temple, the vehicle that we are shedding, but nothing else. Emotions, thoughts, everything else is still vibrating. Everything that hasn't a body is still vibrating, still there. So if you ask in a family constellation situation as a facilitator, how come that, you know, we see somebody who's dead and they seem to act as if they are not dead, like an ancestor, obviously, or the or Mariella's great grandmother, great grandmother. That's the way. Looks like she's alive. That's why she's still vibrating these energies, this information, and that's what's coming through. So when we take all this information together, then we also know why words and gestures actually can heal, because we are giving now new information into the field. And as soon as the information is in the field, it's already beyond time and space. So it can heal backwards 4, 5, 6, 7 generations. Because it's already in the field is beyond time and space. So what happens in a family constellation and goes into the field is as if it has happened then. And there. Like we don't need to go to Germany or Argentina or whatever to, you know, it's always here and now. And that is, I was contemplating about that when I prepared for this module. And that is actually the difference to role play. In role play, you are not tapping into the morphic field, or in any play, in a stage, you know. You're not tapping. You're playing a role, and it is all it stays in this physical realm. It not goes anywhere. Huh? And when you think of other, and if you leave the like if you, I don't know how to explain, if you think you do family, if people think they do family constellation, but instead they are not tapping into the morphogenetic field, and they would merely play roles because they think that is family constellation, because they probably don't have the proper training or experience to do anything else, then it's probably a nice workshop and everybody enjoys it, like like improvisational theater or something like that. Yeah, but it's not healing any old family soul wounds. Yeah. So it merely gives only entertainment to the workshop participants. But that's okay, because the people who are coming to such a workshop unconsciously are not wanting anything else. You have to trust always the process. You know? So never feel sorry for people who, you know, apparently don't get what they want, because subconsciously they do get what they want. But obviously we don't want to do that. So we make sure that when we work, we are always working with the morphogenetic field. And then we can also leave a little bit the strict way that Bert Hellinger has taught. As long as we are always sticking to the basics, then we are free to add individual skills. And that's the beauty of it, because every constellation, every facilitator is working individually in its own way, in his or her own ways. And that's very beautiful, as long as the work is done with the morphogenetic field and with the orders of love, so to speak. Was there anything else I want to mention about the morphogenetic? Maybe you have a question to that. Yes.
So when I do sessions with my clients, sometimes I can feel what they're feeling, and I allow myself sometimes to cry, and I allow myself to feel whatever comes up, and because I feel like it helps them release whatever. So I might basically just be tapping into the field, correct?
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Yeah.
There is also empathy. Empathy is practically also tapping into the field. Empathy is taking over the emotions of somebody else. You know, it's how we call it, I suppose.
No,
but
I
no.
know that No, I know the difference between empathy. No, this is more like I literally tap myself into them. Like I tap myself. So I allow
Yeah.
myself to feel, like I allow myself to feel where is they're blocked, where is what they're feeling. And I said, this is what I'm feeling. And then they're like, yeah, that's how I feel. And then I allow myself, like if I need to cry, I allow myself cry and allow myself to feel it because I know that I'm releasing for them.
Okay, yeah, I would say, yeah, of course you're working with
Yeah,
the
it
field.
sounds like I
Yeah.
am tapping. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Very good, very good.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I understand. To be sure that we're tapping into the field, we're basically we're emptying ourselves and just allowing the information to come. Is that correct?
Yeah. So you can also internally say, I am open to receive information from this family system, you know, or I'm of service to this family. So you can kind of state your intention verbally, not out loud, but internally. If you feel like you have to, normally your intent is clearly vibrating and resonating with the field in the moment that you have it. No. So it's intent and participation. It's not only intent. So if you wouldn't be there, you know, you could be somewhere else and thinking, oh, I intend to help this family system, but you would not take part in any kind of workshop or work or anything, you know, then it wouldn't resonate with you neither. So it's both. You need to intend on participation to be able to work with the field. And then you can work with every morphic field. You know, it's not only the family. We have organizations that we can constellate. We can constellate animals. This is endless. This is really endless when we can tap into that. And we also, like Namshakti just said, when you apply some healing techniques, you are normally working within the morphic field. That's how you get information. Yeah. And I was just thinking, I never thought of that before, but I was just thinking if there's a past life regressions and all of this, obviously that's all working with the field. You get the information from the field. It's not in your, you know, you haven't been, you know, the brain you're carrying around wasn't in your past life the same brain, obviously. So the information must come from a field. And that would be the morphogenetic field. I don't think there are others that we can call informing field. Yeah.
So would this be considered like the quantum field as well, like being just one field?
I'm not sure if we have. I'm not sure about that. I can't answer that. I just want to state that the morphogenetic fields are informing fields. You know, I'm not sure what the quality of a quantum field is. You know, if it's just information or energy or something else. Yeah. So I can't say that. Okay, let's see what's on the next slide. Okay, let's go to our thank you. So just to reinstate that, we have talked about that, but now we are focusing on that. Thank you is always applied like a yes when you acknowledge someone, but with the meaning of leaving. So you say, yeah, okay, it is like it is like so, and I am done with it. I am going. No, I am finishing this. This is over for me. This is done. This is, you know. And then it is this thank you is a relief or an exchange to say, okay, no debt are left. Whatever's left, I balance with the thank you, just in case there is something left, and then I'm free to leave. And this is also normal life. You just, you know, after this training modules, it's a very good idea to just observe normal interactions with people and how this all what we share here applies in normal life. It's not only family constellation, right? So if somebody is talking and talking, and you want to leave, you say, thank you, I have to go now. It's better than to say, please, because you can't leave. Please tell me more. No, thank you, I had enough. I go now, you know, and things like that, very small things. You know, when you leave a shop, you say thank you, or you don't say thank you when you enter the shop, right? So it happens all the time. And we just, in a family constellation, the difference is that we want to apply it. What we are asking a representative to say it in a certain situation, to either find out in what dynamic or relationship this representative is in, or we know already what that is needed to set a dynamic in motion, or in this with the thank you, to close it off and leave it. No. So it's a lot more conscious, but it's the same idea of the thank you. We don't use the thank you different to in daily life. So it's not transforming in a family constellation. You also want to apply the thank you if you want to break the chains with somebody. So sometimes you have, this is something that I am more use in energy work. But if you attach, if there's an unhealthy attachment with somebody, you know, and you have like a cord or a chain that bounds you together, and there's nothing else to do, the dynamic, the family dynamic is cleared, then you can also break this chain with a thank you, you know, because you are reinstating that for you it's over. And as you know, or might not know, but as you certainly will learn after module 4, is the whole universe is eyeing you once you know it, you know. So if you say that's enough, thank you, then that it is. Right. Closing a relationship, we talked about that often. When you have a constellation with equal adults, then the thank you is the way to go ahead and leave the relationship in good and be free for a new relationship. Very often in family constellations, I'm not sure if I repeat myself, I have said that if a partnership is not quite working well, and you have a client who wants to look at the partnership, not with the intent to leave the partnership, but with the intent to you know, to go closer and have a more harmonious partnership. And when you facilitate this kind of constellation, you often would be compelled to bring in ex-partners of the couple. And then you can see that either one of the ex-partners or your client or the couple partner of your client has not said thank you. That's missing. So in this constellation, you would ask then either the former partner or the other a person to say, or both, better both, to say thank you to each other. To make sure they are not leaving any debt behind and they are letting the other free to go in a new relationship. And that is where this thank you has a very powerful effect in a family constellation. And you can use the thank you in all kinds. I think it's coming in the slide. The thank you is not only a thank you, although the thank you would be enough, but you can say thank you for the time we spent together. It was a wonderful time. I take all the good things and the rest I leave with you. And make it really clear that there's no regrets, because regrets are binding, right? If you have a regret in a relationship or in life, if you are regretting anything, you are bound to whatever you are regretting. You can't leave it. That's an emotion that bounds you to whatever you are regretting. And that is the same in a partnership. When a partnership has been broken up, and at least one of this partner wasn't ready for it, and it regrets it, the connection is still there. And sometimes you can really see in a constellation in this case that the former partner just doesn't want to leave. Just loves this partner so much, doesn't want to leave, and then you need to find a way, to help, to help this person to let go. And I can give it away because you're my trainees. You always have to put this mother, his or her mother, in this, and then you see where the neediness really comes from. And that's the healing process. So you have a family constellation for a client who wants to work with a partnership, but in fact, you're working with a partner by destiny. Remember, partner, also former partners are bound by destiny to the family system. You work with this partner by destiny and his mother or her mother, which is fine because this is all part of the family system. And this is because it's part of the family system, it will also have an effect. It will resonate with the morphic field of the family system and clear the path for the new partnership. And then, of course, now you know all the dynamics with former generations. Of course, if this is a problem in the partnership, you might find in former generation a constellation where it was the same. So sometimes you are not just looking at the current relationship and find the ex-partner who has to say thank you and work with the ex-partner to be able to say thank you. Sometimes you see there's an entanglement and you have to go generations back and solve the problem there, and then come back to this generation and do it again. And when do you know that there was that was like a repeated family pattern? What do you think? If you're in such a constellation, well, how would you know? Any ideas? Just throw it out there.
If somebody's in a relationship and they can't let go, then they're still wanting something from their mother. They haven't received the nourishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you just would see if they move toward the mother or if there's a problem, or would they just, it's likely they would just.
How do you work with the client and their mother? It's the same applies here.
You would bring in the mother and ask the client to lie down and move toward the mother.
Yeah, Ima doesn't need to lie down. Lie down is an extreme, right? You don't start with lie down. you see if they can go to the mother. That's the first thing.
Right. So if they can't go to the mother, then you might ask them to lie down.
Yeah. Then you have an interrupted movement to the mother. But you might don't want to work with the ex-partner of a client on that. It's probably going too far. You have to be careful, that you're not getting sidetracked too much. But in most of the cases, pretty much every case I have seen, when you bring in the mother, it's not an interrupted movement. It's a shift. So the partner, the ex-partner, his perception is shifting. He can't see that his need that he has towards the partner is the need towards the mother, which he is happy then to go and get there once he knows it's the mother. So you put the mother in there, turn him around so he can see the mother, and everybody so far was happy as to go to the mother.
And then they're able to leave their partner because they have the mother.
Because they have the mother. I have never actually have an interrupted movement to the mother in this situation, which would be a little bit far away from the family system you're working with. because this is definitely, the mother's definitely not part of the family system, you know. So this is probably why it doesn't come up in this instance. Ale, you wanted to say something? Yeah. So we still want to know, how do we know if this is a pattern that is repeated in the through the generation? How do you know that? If you have the partner, you have the couple, so you have a couple, and then you have an ex-partner, and the ex-partner needs to go to the mother, and you think, oh, fine, this is resolved, but it's probably not, because it's probably in this one of the couples, the family dynamic that is repeated. Yeah, Mariella.
So in the new couple, there has to be some sort of obstruction, something, you know, feeling wrong for us to look at it, right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So hold the thought. Hold the thought. How would an obstruction look like?
Not sure.
Think of the great grandmother yesterday. What was Kate's feeling? Remember? She said her left arm was cold.
Yes.
Yeah, I was the mother, not the great grandmother, but yeah.
The great grandmother. You were the great grandmother.
You were the great grandmother.
Anyhow,
Oh.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So you, if one of the representatives is not fully present, and get the feeling that you know, is having feelings that, you know, somebody's missing, then you have to look in another generation. So you would choose another representative, you know, probably two actually, as a couple, and put them a little bit away from this constellation, put the couple, and see how they go, you know.
Right, so you don't know who they are. You're adding two people, and you'll see. You'll
Well, you
find
know who
out
they are. They are ancestors, couple.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sorry, and in this case, does the left arm is symbolizing the female, right? The woman?
Yeah.
Like a woman missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would it be the right arm if it's a man missing?
Yeah. Yes. Don't ask me what we have with the transgender missing. Don't know. Maybe it's a cold spine or something. I don't know. So, so coming back to the original thing, so you would ask this, you know, you would see if you can guide the constellation towards the movement of this ex-partner to say thank you to the ex-partner in this constellation, your client, and turn around and look, you know, and look look friendly at this couple, and then the way is open. The way is open for them, for more happiness and more intimacy. And if you have an entanglement and you see there's another generation had the same problem, then you can do the same there. Ale.
I was wondering if there is any chance to make, I don't know, a small constellation with an ex-partner?
Sure, absolutely. We
Okay.
see how we go. We see how we go on for the break, and then we look at that.
Thank you.
Okay. So the next, we said closing a relationship is when you apply thank you then towards parents, when going away, growing up, choosing a partner, having a child, or wanting a child. You know, you have to be grown up to be able to get to let the love flow and the nourishment you have received to your children. Children cannot have children, no? And I don't know who was it. Was it Bert Helling or another one of my teachers? Somebody said, if you are still a child, you cannot have children. You cannot, regardless what your age is. Like, you know, you are in a state of need. Don't get married. Go back to your parents. You know, and help them and do something there to finish off this need. Yeah. So when you are when you have a constellation, when you have a client who wants to have a child, who wants to marry a partner, who wants to do something adult, and has problems with it, you look at the relationship to the parents and see if he's actually able to say thank you, or if he's still, or she is still in the please state. If they're in the please state, they cannot give anything to neither a partner nor a child. So that is when you can apply thank you to know at which stage they are, right? And which, or what's needed. If they can't say thank you, then that's that. So they say practically thank you to the parents and please to the partner, or yes. You know, and then yes to a child. Because to a child, you always say yes as a parent. There's not much other choices. Okay, so good so far? Okay. So the thank you from a child to a parent can have a lot of sentences of resolution, and they come quite easily, so you really don't need to learn them. These are the sentences Bert uses a lot. It's thank you for giving me life. It's always, remember, simple and clear and straightforward and clear English words. Thank you for nourishing me. Thank you for always being there for me. Thank you for caring for me. Thank you for my life is the most important one. And then if you have a difficult relationship, not you, but your client has a difficult relationship to one parent, the parent is abusive, or the parent was not there a lot, or something really difficult, but there is not an interrupted movement that has been solved already, so the child can actually say thank you, then it is really hard to say just thank you, because you feel like I cannot thank you for beating me up or something. You know, it's kind of a little bit inappropriate. But on a soul level, what is it's always appropriate to say thank you for my life, because it's just simple fact. And then you can say I leave everything else in your responsibility. So whatever it was, alcoholism or beating up or even sexual abuse or whatever it was, this child can say, I leave it with you. It was your action. It was your responsibility. And we are not going into a victim-perpetrator situation there. It's clear, cut the cords. Because with an abusive parent, very often it is important that the child really cuts the cords in good. And not through denial or anger or anything like that, you know, that you can guide this person towards the love, to the please, you know, to get the nourishment that maybe hasn't been denied, and then can say thank you for my life, but everything else I leave with you. You know, including memories, including everything, responsibility, memories, everything. Give it back where it belongs, to this adult person who is responsible for this, right? Okay. Also, thank you from a child to the parents can be, in some situations, I will stay. So that I will stay doesn't mean I will stay as your child, but that means I will stay as an adult, you know, and you know, be there for you as an adult. It's often when you have parents who are elderly and probably need help. And remember, you cannot go back to your child and treat them as a child. That's not that wouldn't help. That wouldn't be good for neither. But you can always be there as an adult for your parents, right? And that would be if you are able, if the client is able to say thank you to the parents, and then I will stay, then obviously it's not, this client is not staying as a child, it's staying as an adult. The next would be thank you in relationship. Okay, so that's when you look at the other situation, not the ones that we have just discussed. That is a relationship that is in full swing. There is no thank you between the partners. That was the thank you to the next partner. But if you have a relationship issue that is not in full swing, that want to be ended by the client, or the client struggles with that the partner wants to end the relationship, then you have these sentences of resolution. They are very powerful. Thank you for everything I have received from you. As it's maybe cut off with the, depends on what you have, what kind of computer and what kind of viewer you have. So if you can't see it, you just change your viewer around from you know, in the corner there. I saw on the recording, it will be cut off, but you hear my voice and I read it all out, so it's not an issue, I think. Yeah, okay. So thank you for everything I have received from you. You may keep what you've received from me if you wish. Up to him, right? Her. I take responsibility for my part in our separation and leave you with the responsibility for your part. I give you a place in my heart. So that is a very good ending for a quite ugly, you know, drama relationship. Because there was something going on that was not quite good. And always have the focus point on who needs to take responsibility over for what. Like, as a matter of fact and as a rule in life and in family constellation, you only take responsibility for your own actions. But you must also take responsibility for your own feelings. It is childish to say, you make me feel like this. Yeah. The adult person has control over the feelings. No. So the responsibility is not only for the actions, but also for the emotions, because this is often a bigger thing in a relationship than the action. And as long as there is what's Vorwurf? A resentment, you know, against the partner, like they're still in the background, in the back of the head of one partner, like, oh, you made me feel like this, you know, the relationship cannot end. I mean, the relationship can end in the world, but not emotionally. So the partners will still be connected through this regrets or this resentment. So to make both partners available to their own life and to new partnerships and whatever they want to do, they have to take over fully responsibility for actions and emotion. Right. And then if this relationship had children, it is really important when you say thank you, that you also say that part of thank you is, when you let them say thank you, part of thank you for our children. Because that's a great gift. And clearly both partners were needed for that. Yeah. Okay. That was a thank you. And now we're talking about the dynamic I follow you, which we have seen yesterday, thankfully, in the little family constellation with Mariella's family. This dynamic I follow you is that a descendant wants to do exactly the same as one of the ancestors. Could be the parents, could be the grandparents, but could be also older. So, and it's always a violation of the first order of love, who comes first, because the person who comes last wants to do something or takes over something or do something which what the person who came before is doing or wants to do, right? So this is why it leaves an imprint in the family soul and needs to be healed, because it sticks around as a trauma. You can see a very deep love, as always, from the entangled person, from how do you call that? The entangled person to the other part of the entanglement. How do you call that? To the so you have the entangled person who we're working with, and who's the other person?
Give us an example with my family. Who are you talking about?
So the entangled person was your great-grandmother was entangled with the person represented by Tracy, right? So now we know the great-grandmother is an entangled person, but I'm just struggling to find an English word for the person was represented by Tracy. The source of the entanglement. Any suggestions?
We thought that was the grandmother, didn't we? We thought it was a mother.
We're not talking about family members. We're talking in general of a term.
I suggest, and you can correct me if you think it's wrong, but what if we call one the entangler with ER and the other one entangled with ED?
Okay.
Would that make sense?
Okay, so I like that. We can call this person entangler.
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just between you and us, me and you. Yeah. So we call this person the entangler. So there is a deep love of the entangled person to the entangler. That's always what you can see. A completely unconscious love. Often the entangled person doesn't know that the entangler exists at all. It is a soul contract. So the soul comes with the task into this life to look at the entangler with love and put the right and put in this family system the order back. Right? You're certainly aware with this term soul contract, are you? Yeah, everybody. Okay. Often children for their parents or grandparents. So often this I follow you dynamic is combined with the rather me than you, like it was yesterday. So a parent wants to follow somebody. Let's say the mother wants to follow the grandmother in the dynamic into death, yeah, through love. And the daughter is entangled with the mother in the I follow you. In the rather me than you. So said, no, you don't go, I go for you. Yeah. So when you have the dynamics, then it is very often that both coming together. Looking at looking at the dead is a sign, as you could clearly see in this constellation yesterday. Kate's eyes were looking down. She was actually, her head was going down. So that is always looking at the dead. It's always the entangled person is looking at the dead. Because the entangler cannot look at the death. Otherwise, there wouldn't be an entanglement. So don't mix that up. The entangled person is looking at the death. And also, if you think of the third dynamics, reparation or atonement for my sins, they cannot look at the dead neither. Because if they couldn't, there would be a connection, which they can't make, right? So the person who can look at the dead is the entangled person, always. Is that clear? Because it's really simple if you think about it. And if you see it a lot, it's very simple. This is how you know this is an entangled person. And then you only need to find the entangler and the victims and make sure that they can actually find peace together. In a nutshell.
So you added the entangler in that example. You added Tracy, didn't you, to bring it about? Yeah.
Otherwise, there would be no solution. Yeah. So that's what you do as a facilitator. You are looking for the person who's missing, and you're adding this person, and then everything makes sense all of a sudden. And for everybody else, it looks like magic. But you know, it's really simple. But as a magician, we don't give away the tricks of the trade to everybody. Of course. So we talked about eating disorders briefly. Here also the I follow you is very often in eating disorder. Because it's the way to starve oneself to death. It's kind of the way to slowly die. But you can always be stopped. If you have a fatal disease, it could be hard, to stop. It's all possible, but it's easier just to start eating again. So it's very often the eating disorders because the entangled person who has a dynamic I follow you wants to be stopped. Also, the suicidal attempts are often I follow you dynamics. Yeah, they're often not successful. And I know of a person I'm acquainted with, she has a daughter who's constantly trying suicides. And the whole family is out of their minds, obviously. And I don't know how to convey to them just to come to a family constellation. No, how? But they are going to psychologists and you know what you do. The pills and antidepressant pills and who knows, all this. That's really sad. So that is really motivating to get as many trainees on board as possible to spread the method all over the world, because you can help so many people with these skills. Fatal accidents, that's also an I follow you dynamic. And I have an example here. I have a personal experience with that. When I was a lawyer, I was in partnership with a lovely man. He was in his 40s, beginning of 40s, and had 4 sons. And we were one year together in a business partnership, and he died in an accident, a car accident, and left obviously his wife and his 4 children behind, 4 sons. And 2 sons were, I think they were 2 and 3, and the others were 5 and 6 or something like that. And I lost contact with the family. And then 10 years later, I heard that the oldest son died in a car accident when he was 18. So as soon as he could drive, because in Germany you need to be 18 to drive, he got in a car accident and died. That's a clear I follow you dynamic. And what you would do if you have a client who comes with a story like this to you, you can clear the I follow you dynamic with finding what meant, and that would mean that probably a descendant of the 3 of the other boys wouldn't do the same. That's why you do it. Because these boys, they are not all dads, they probably have sons. And I could almost guarantee that one of them is following as well. Yeah. We talked about suicides. I mentioned that. I follow you very often. Oh, was it not in Mariella's also that there were 3 suicide attempts and 2 were just attempts, not successful, and 1 was successful? Oh. How was it?
No, there were 2 actual suicides and 1 who had attempted but did not commit suicide.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was probably the I follow you dynamic in this brother. Direct entanglement with one who has gone, like a sibling in an abortion or an accident, is normally what creates the I follow you dynamic. So abortion very often, a sibling. So a mother has aborted a child, often nobody knows about it, and then let's say she has 3 other children later on, which are all very much loved and everything is good. Nobody's thinking about this abortion years ago. And then probably the youngest is either suicidal or has an eating disorder or is, things like that. They want to follow this dead sibling. And these are actually constellations that are quite easy to see and to solve. And as the morphic field will only give you challenges you can actually master when you work, you can totally trust that. You will probably find, dynamics like this when you start to work.
Can I ask a question? If you, so if there was an abortion, and then perhaps there was a stillbirth or a miscarriage, could that be a child following you, or would it have to be a child who's conscious and has been incarnated?
I have not seen an aborted child following I follow you dynamic in an aborted child. I haven't seen that yet.
No, I mean a child that's not born. Like I follow you being somebody who dies
miscarried.
In a miscarriage.
Yeah, could be. That's possible, definitely possible. Yeah.
And the other thing I was wondering was, would that potentially repeat over and over again, like several miscarriages?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this dynamic isn't cleared. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Siblings. Yep. Acknowledging what is. I'm coming as well. That is what this entangled person has to say to the entangler. Just to acknowledge, I'm coming as well. That's what they say. You can say, I follow you, but I'm coming as well is a bit more natural to say. And they have such an urge to do that. That is absolutely astounding. And they couldn't be stopped from nothing in the world if not the entangler would say to them, I don't want that. That's the only way, the only sentence of resolution is, I don't want you to follow me. This is my fate, my destiny. It has nothing to do with you, you know. And then the entangled person wakes up and looks up and says, oh, really? Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. You know, because it's completely subconscious. And it's really like a waking up and, oh, whoa, what am I doing here? It's like a sleep dreamer, you know. And what is like in general in family constellation important is that you then, when a dynamic is solved, that you then take the ex-entangled person and give her the future. So you're not necessarily just stand, especially in I Follow You, you're not necessarily just stand here in the room. Ah, yeah, now I'm free, because they're a little bit lost. They had this, they were born with this destiny to follow, yeah? And then when you take that away, then there's nothing else. There's nothing else. And they will be a little bit lost. So you want to play as a representative for the future, that they can turn around and go there, you know, and have a new way to follow, their own way, right? That's important in the I Follow You dynamic. Not to leave them standing in the room. Even if they feel relieved, like if they feel relieved because the entanglement has been cleared, but they still would be kind of lost. Okay. Good. Okay, let's see what we have here. Talking about trauma. We do that before the break, and then we do some practical work after the break, 2 or 3 constellation, and we have other stuff to go through as well. So trauma, as you know, that's a term. It's also, I think, Latin. It's a term for a injury. You know, it's either in the body, or we are not working with bodily traumas. We are working with soul traumas. You know, trauma in the soul. And what causes this trauma is always a death experience or an actual death. It's the fear of dying that is causing a soul trauma. The sudden, you know, the sudden death. Not necessarily a long, you know, like a fatal disease that you are working with for a long time. That's not necessarily causing a trauma. Okay, we lost now Shakti. Is she somewhere? What's the saying? Oh, hang on. Ah, good. Hang on, let me just take that away here. No. Okay, so the trauma is caused by a sudden death or the fear of a sudden death. And death comes in lots of different bodies and different experiences. So it's not only the man with a knife in front of you, it's the fear of dying, you know. Every kind of fear, fear of spiders, fear of bee sting, fear of whatever, is in the end, if you think it through, the fear to die from it. Yeah. It can be looking like logically, it could look very irrationally. But it is always not, you're not fearing anything else than the fear of than the fear of dying in the soul. That's just what happens. You just have to see it. That this is always what stands at the end. So for trauma to appear, it has to be actually, it's not actually the fear of a spider. That's normally not causing a trauma. But if you're fearing spiders and you have you're a child, a girl, and you have a naughty brother who's collecting spiders and put them all under your pillow, And when you go to bed, you lie in the bed and there are 30 spiders crawling over you. That is causing trauma. Right. So it needs to be severe. You have to, the fear of dying may be realistic or unrealistic. That doesn't matter. Yeah. For the soul, that doesn't matter. And then this causes a trauma. Now, if one person has a trauma, which is a personal event, an act of violence, yeah, then this is embedded in their system. It goes into the morphic field as an information and needs to be looked at one way or the other. Now you can look at the trauma, and that's what we do in module 4, how we clear traumas with a person, or it is not the person's trauma, it's an entanglement with an entangler who is traumatized. And that is when family constellation comes into play. So then you can look at the trauma through the entangled person onto the entangler and look at its trauma and clear it. There. The trauma we are facing in family constellation most of the time is what we had yesterday, is the interrupted movement to the mother. I would say that's 90% of the traumas you are facing in the family constellation is that. There could be others. But they are rare, and we don't want to focus on them, especially because I think the method to clear traumas, which you learn in module 4, is more effective than to look at it in a family constellation setting. But truth is that a trauma needs to be cleared in order to evolve. Traumas soul traumas is what holding us back from any kind of successful evolving way towards more happiness and freedom, higher vibration, finding out who you really are. The trauma is so it's like a cloud that is hanging over you, you know, that you take with you everywhere, and you see everything through this cloud. This is why trauma is really important to work with your client, to clear traumas in order to work with the deeper rooted entanglements in the family system. So it's a very important topic in the family constellation. However, you can trust that the traumas that you are working with will be mostly interrupted movements towards the mother. Childhood trauma. That is the one trauma that child experiences when it experiences the fear of dying. Right. And then we have everybody who is dead, like in the family constellation, normally is a victim, or we call it a victim, let's put it that way, has experienced a trauma because they have kind of died unexpected through an act of violence. Yeah. So we are not clear, we are not going to this person and work with their trauma, but what we do is through uniting perpetrator and victim, we are clearing the dynamic that is entangling another person of the family system. So we don't need to work with the trauma of a war victim as an individual person, you know what I mean? And why do we need to work is because we see it in the family constellation, like we saw it yesterday, that when you clear the dynamic and you are able to initiate the movement between victim and perpetrator, that the victims are in peace. And that's all we need to know, and that's all we need to do. So we're not going to a victim and try to work on their trauma. That they have experienced through the death experience. When I talk about trauma, I also want to mention that it is passed on from generation to generation, And interestingly, about 10 years ago, it has been scientifically proven that it is actually epigenetically passed on from a generation to the other and causes another suffering in the next generation. So for example, if there was a trauma in the First World War because a man had to kill so many people, right? A young man maybe, is traumatized, that will damage epigenetics in this body. And then when this person has a son, it will pass on this damage to the son. But the son is not in fear of war. The son maybe has an allergy, to nuts. Totally random. Because the epigenetic damage doesn't carry the information of the source, right? And then the son has another trauma, maybe an accident where he nearly died, and this is damaging the epigenetics of the son again in another way. So when this son has another son, then this other son doesn't fear the war, it doesn't have a nut allergy, but probably is autistic or whatnot. So you'd never know from the symptoms what kind of trauma it is. That is impossible to see. But we know that a trauma is existing because of a family dynamic. And we want to look at that,
Do they have to be born after the trauma to inherit it in their epigenetics, or
apparently so? Yes, apparently
okay.
so. Due to these findings, yes. Yeah. Which is lovely. It's just lovely to say in a family constellation workshop when you're working with lots of new people, that you can throw a couple of phrases in there that are scientifically proven. Like the morphogenetic field and epigenetic inheritance, and then you are out of this realm of psychics, if you will. So some people really need to know that, and you can read about it, of course. If any of this what I'm talking about is triggering an interest, be assured you just Google and you find lots of literature about it. I said traumas need to be healed in order to get ahead in life. Yes. And then a common, yeah, exactly, that is it. A common is the interruption movement towards the mother that we have looked at already. And that is what you would focus in a constellation. That's the most important one. To get, to give your client more happiness and freedom and success in life. Or not to give him, to enable him to access it. Yeah. So the emotion is actually either fear or anger. So sometimes you see a trauma in like fear. That would be in our constellation yesterday when Nam Shakti was talking about symptoms of sickness and cold, and what was it again? You felt sick in your stomach or something. So these are signs of fear. So that was a traumatic. This is why this was not. This is a dead body, a dead person who has experienced a traumatic death, right? And then there is anger. Anger is sometimes a substitute for fear. So when you have an angry energy in front of you, you have to check if that is actually a trauma. No, could be a trauma as well. Okay. Oh yeah, we are. Oh yeah, that's good. So what we do is actually we take a break now. We take our break 10 minutes. I see you at 7:40 or 3:40 down there in Washington. Okay.
Breathe again. And one more time. And when you're ready, you open your eyes and you look down, you look to the floor till you find your way to start constellating. So, Nam Shakti, how are you feeling?
Almost confused. I'm getting really cold on my right side.
Okay. So confused, cold on the right arm, and what's the feeling? What's your feeling?
I don't want to look at Ale. I almost feel like I miss her, but I don't want to look at her. I kind of feel numbed towards her. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Ale, how are you feeling?
I really want to cry because I don't know what else I can do or something. I am feeling sad, like nostalgic, you know. It's
Ask her where she's looking at.
Sorry,
Ask her where she's looking at.
where are you looking at?
I am looking for him.
For whom? For him?
For him,
Who's him?
my partner.
So Nam Shakti, you are looking at Nam Shakti?
Yes.
Okay. Is this a good moment to bring someone in? Or is it too soon?
Yeah, it looks like there's not much movement.
Okay, so I'll
She's
bring.
looking, so let us just think what to do. So she's looking at him, but she feels nostalgic, meaning that she's not really seeing him. She's seeing a picture of him or of somebody else, right? Otherwise, she wouldn't feel nostalgic. Do you see that?
My feel is, I feel stuck. It's like I want to go ahead. I want to go, but it sometimes it's too hard. It's too difficult.
So she's looking at Nam Shakti. It is unclear if she's actually connected at the moment, right?
Yeah.
And Nam Shakti is not looking at her, although she wants to look at her. She can't, right? So in this situation, you can't use words, right? Can you see that? Because they're not relating to each other.
Yeah. Because of what Nam Shakti said about her arm, the right arm, I'm kind of inclined to just go there and invite, another representative in.
That's correct. I would do the same, although the client said she wanted to look at her ex-partner, so obviously that's not what's missing here. So you have to make a decision. Are you going with the field, or are you going with what you want?
I know, I'm going with the field.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know who I am calling in. I'm just calling a representative and
Yeah.
to explore.
Yeah.
Okay. Kate, are you happy to come into the field?
Yep.
Where do you place her?
I would say to close your eyes for a moment and to find your way if you have any movement coming to you, any feelings. When you are ready, open your eyes. Just take a moment and tell us what you feel.
I feel drawn to Nam Shakti.
I feel like dropping, like I feel like I want to lay down. Like my body's so numb right now. Like,
Yeah. Follow that. Don't fall asleep.
Okay. So
And move towards her.
You're looking at Nam Shakti, correct?
Yeah.
And do you feel like going close to her? Do you feel sad? What are you feeling? No? Okay.
No, I don't think I feel sad.
Do you want to, are you drawn to her? Do you feel like going to her?
Yeah.
Look at her
Well, I
face,
think she-
Mariella. Look at her face, Mariella. She looks like this. The sign of superiority.
Yes, yes.
We have her father here.
Okay.
and I want to get into a fetal position like a baby.
Yeah, that's the father.
Okay. So, and Nam Shakti,
Or the mother. Actually, we don't know that.
yeah, we have a parent and adult.
I
Nam
feel
Shakti,
taller, that's all. I feel taller.
Bigger, yeah, taller, bigger. How do you feel, Nam Shakti, towards Kate?
I don't feel anything. I feel like I want to get into a fetal position. Like I want to get really small. Like I almost want to bring my feet up to my face and like hug my feet.
Okay. And you are doing that, yes? Are you?
I'm trying.
Good. Okay. So
Think of the dynamic. What do you see? What is you didn't need, something needs to be acknowledged for movement.
I'm inclined to think in the word please. Am I in the right?
Who like Nam Shakti to Kate, please?
Yes. Yeah, that's my inclination, but not sure.
Try.
Okay. Nam Shakti, can you look at Kate and say please to her?
Please.
Can you
Please.
say it loudly?
Please. Please.
Right. Now try looking in her eyes.
I'm looking her in the eyes.
Right.
It feels better. I feel better. I still want to stay like a baby though.
Okay. So it's good, but it's not enough.
Well, ask Kate how she feels.
How do you feel, Kate?
I feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I don't know. I don't have a
So there's
strong
something
feeling.
not right, hey? If that would be the parent in a normal child-parent dynamic, she wouldn't feel uncomfortable when the child says please.
So maybe I'm not her parent.
Okay.
There is some kind of superiority in here. You know? I don't know. Try to amplify. Find a sentence that is acknowledging that.
For Kate now. I am greater than you are.
You want me to say that?
That's it. Only if it feels right for you, if it's true. Is that true? Is that how you feel?
She has to try it first and then tell you.
I'm greater than you are.
It's okay?
I don't feel a need to say it or that it's true. I'm just, it leaves me feeling nothing.
So what would you say? Is there any words coming to you?
Maybe I see you. I feel like it looks to me like she's hiding. I want to say I see you. I can see you there.
I have the oddly feeling we have a victim perpetrator situation here.
I think
I
so.
do feel like I'm hiding. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why the police doesn't do anything, right? Because the victim would not say to the perpetrator, please, and you know.
At the beginning, I felt very guilty. I forgot to mention.
So you are feeling guilty.
I did feel guilty.
Yeah, and I feel
very
uncomfortable.
guilty.
Okay, so is this maybe a kind of an ex-partner, previous partner of his? We don't know.
No.
No, I think it's more of a maybe feels more like a bullying situation, maybe an older person. I feel like I'm feeling uncomfortable, a little angry. And yeah, like she's smaller than me or younger.
Yeah, Mariella, go with the victim perpetrator. Don't think about who that is. We don't need to know this. We know it's a perpetrator. Just go with the victim perpetrator situation.
Okay. Namshakti, can you see Kate?
Mm-hmm.
You can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like saying sorry. Can I say sorry?
No, say to her. What would you say, Mariella? What shall you say? Not sorry. 3 words.
3 words. Wouldn't be the
acknowledging what is victim perpetrator situation. 3 words.
They are not coming to me because the ones that are coming to me, I think is Kate, the one supposed to say it. You belong to me.
Yeah, that's the right word, but she has to say it. Namshakti.
Okay.
We belong together.
Okay. Can you say that to her, Nam Shakti? We belong together.
We belong together.
I didn't like that she said it, but when she finished, I feel better.
That's typical for a perpetrator. So we know we have a victim-perpetrator situation here. Aha. Comes to life. Very good. Say it again. Just repeat it.
Yeah, say it 2 more times.
We belong together. We belong together. This is very good. I can see Ale now.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest, Mariella, to come to Ale. We have to finish off this dynamic somehow. It's not finished yet. Yeah. So if you find a sentence that Nam Shakti said to Kate, that they are actually together from now on, so that she can move on.
Okay. We will always be together through our common destiny.
Yeah, that's nice. Or connected. Yeah.
We will always be connected through our common destiny. Can you say that to her, Nam Shakti?
We will always be together through our common destiny. Can I say I love you?
Sure.
I love you.
That's it.
I really feel like I love you.
That's fun.
How are you feeling, Kate?
I'm feeling better. Yeah, it feels, when she said I love you, it felt a little better. Just a little bit each time. Relieved. I feel relieved.
Can you say as well, we belong together?
We belong together. And I love you. Yeah.
Voilà.
So, okay.
Ask Ale what's changed.
How are you feeling, Ale?
Well, I feel excited.
Nam Shakti, can you look at Ale and say to her, and now I am ready for our relationship? Now I am available and ready for our relationship.
Now I am ready for our relationship.
How does that feel, Nam Shakti?
Good. It feels like I want to grab her hand and run with her.
What?
It's like I want to grab her hand and run with her.
Right. Okay. And okay, so shall we say, Ale, can you say yes to Nam Shakti?
Yes.
Nam Shakti, can you say yes to Ale?
Yes.
Say it again, repeat it 3
Yes.
times.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and now we play the romantic music.
We do, but I'm not prepared, so that will probably not catch the moment. Yes.
Feel it in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm glad Namshakti woke up.
I'm so sleepy.
No, you poor thing.
Totally
So,
worth it.
no. Mariella, so that was great. Yeah, so this is how you tackle it. So just to recap what has happened, the whole thing got stuck in the idea we have a parent. You know? If we wouldn't, if we wouldn't think of a parent, we would have probably saved 5 minutes. Just that you know. So you could save this 5 minutes, make them more effective, that you, just because somebody goes in a fatal position, don't think of a parent at all. Because it doesn't mean anything, Like it doesn't mean it's a child towards the parent necessarily. It can be something else. I think in this case it was more hiding. So this is interesting. See, everything can happen. We don't know. You have to go with the field, and it was a good decision, Mariella, to go with the field. And if we would have put up Ali's ex-partner, we wouldn't have come to the dynamic of her partner.
Yeah, true.
Right?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering whether it was important to say to take them to thank you.
To
whom? With the perpetrator victim.
No, that's not appropriate to say thank you.
Okay.
No, because thank you would be parting.
Yeah.
And we didn't make them part. We actually made them stay together in a connection that is within their destiny.
Very good. I'm so proud of you, Mariella. Ale.
It's always proper to say we belong together, and there is another phrases I can't remember right now.
Yeah, as I like to say, but it's sometimes hard for the representative to say it. You are me and I am you.
Okay.
I think that's stronger, but it's not always available.
Okay.
And we can also go very low in and say, I see you. If nothing else is available, that's a step, especially for the perpetrator. I see you and your pain. I didn't mean to hurt you. These are all these sentences that we can apply to get them moving towards to each other. And then they either stay together or they stay connected. They don't need to stay together. Like they can say, oh, we will always be, like you said, we will always be connected through our destiny. Yeah. Good. Was great. Okay. Ale, let us know how it goes next weekend.
So fast. Thank you.
I don't know, next weekend or the weekend after. Good. So that was good. How do we feel with finishing off our teaching content? For the last half hour.
Yeah.
You're still with me, aren't you? Yeah. Okay. 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 Let me just screen share. And what shall I say? The field didn't want us to record the first constellation. That's interesting, eh? So,
did you all get dropped, or was that just me?
Only you got dropped. I don't know. It must be your internet. But sometimes when the internet cuts out shortly, then you're out. It happened to me in the first day. That all of a sudden the internet was on, and then you're gone. I have to rejoin.
I'm going to the restroom, but I can still hear you because I have my AirPods just FYI.
Sure, sure. But you're not pregnant, are you? I can't hear you.
I'm in my monthly cycle, so excuse
Okay.
me.
One or the other. Okay. So in the practical work, as you have seen in the last two constellations, we are working with words, gestures, eyes, and movement. You know, and if you have, this is your tools set. This is the skills you have. This is like a plumber who has his, gosh, you know, his pliers, whatnot, you know, has a big box with all this, and you have a big mess in your bathroom and you are totally helpless, right? But he comes and he can fix it because he has the tools and he knows how to apply them. And for him, it's not a thing at all, you know, but for the client, it's life-saving. That's exactly the same as family constellation. So just learn the tools that I give you here in the training, and you don't need to worry a thing. Obviously, we do need practice, obviously. I mean, don't expect, yeah, obviously, I don't. But that's what we do as well. And the most helpful practice you have is actually to be part in family constellations. You know, that is the most important part. This is why in this training, there are 50 hours required minimum of family constellation. And that doesn't mean that you constellate your own constellation, not at all, right? That means that you're taking part, being representative, observing, and all of that. Yeah.
Oh, you muted.
Yeah, just briefly, I had to yell at the door.
Oh.
Okay, so words, gestures, eyes, and movement. Words, this is what we talked about the whole module, right? So it's the words of power we have, yeah? We have words that strengthen. We have words that weaken. And then there are some tricks how we find the right words through reversing things, reversing words, replacing can'ts with won'ts, using the little version of the word. And then we can also talk about screaming, coughing, vomiting, laughing, and no words. So that's all in our toolbox when we are plumbing. That's all we pull out, right? If we are applying words. So we talked about the words of power. Yes, please, thank you. I'm not going into details. You know them now. Just remember, these are at the top of the list because they have power in itself. Yeah, they are moving mountains. They are shifting dynamics that has been stuck in generations, right? But then, as you see in constellations, not always somebody is ready to bear this power. Yeah. So then you look for words that strengthen. And the words that strengthen are now, go, stay, look at, only, you know, all these words that making whatever you see, amplifying it, making it stronger. And then you have words that weaken. You normally avoid these words. But there can be an incident when you want actually an energy to weaken, to soften, you know? So this energy, if you have like just as a matter of example, you have a strong perpetrator energy, and you want to soften this energy. So the victim is actually not too fearful to look at him, yeah? Because the words normally come from the victim to connect with the perpetrator. So that could be something that weaken the energy. I can't look at you right now, or maybe I can look at you later, or sometimes I feel I could move, or I can glance at you, or something like that. Something to weaken the energy of a very strong perpetrator energy. Reversing, we use that. When you ask for a sentence of resolution and it cannot be said, then just ask for the opposite, because that is acknowledging what is, and then movement can happen. Like we had that just before. What was it again? I forgot already. I need you. Instead of I need you, I don't need you. And because it's acknowledged, something moves, right? So you can also come to this opposite by thinking if a representative, they are not trained, right? So you normally don't ask a representative to say what they think they want to say, because the words have no power normally, you know, and you get sidetracked. And if you allow them once to talk, they talk all the time. They're starting a chit chat with each other. And you are losing completely the control, and the field goes into sleeping mode. You know. So this is when somebody said, you said, okay, so what do you want to say? And they said, oh, I want to say you are angry. Yeah. Then you say, okay, let's rephrase it. You make me feel angry. So they can always speak from themselves. Yeah. And then when they can say you make me angry, then they can also say I'm angry. Because the anger is in this person who wants to notice it, not in the one he's pointing the finger at. Right? So this is where you can work through words, you can work your way to the representative, so the representative is actually able to say the sentence that is true. Although they don't think that it would be when they start. So that's how you guide them. If a movement is there, for example, towards a parent, like we have that in the interrupted movement, to the parent, often the child says, I can't move. And then you can rephrase and say, I won't move. That has a strong effect. Acknowledging that it's actually a will thing. I don't want to. You know. Then when the strong words, when either the words of power or the strengthening words are too much in a situation, and remember, you never push a representative to say anything they are not comfortable with, then you could do the little version of the word, like we did with I love you a little bit in German, you know? And that would be not yet, just a little bit, even though these are all words that make it a little bit smaller. And then we have screaming, coughing, vomiting, laughing, which are kind of words. And they have all their rightful place in a constellation, and they have also all a meaning. So when somebody wants to scream, you probably don't want them to scream. It's enough if they say, I want to scream, you know. Then you can either allow them to scream, obviously, or you say, okay, just tell me, do you want to scream? Oh yeah, you want to scream. Okay, that's enough. I need to know. You just need to know that you want to scream. Screaming is obviously agony, right? It's a feeling of agony. So you look for victim perpetrator energy when somebody wants to scream. Different to that is somebody wants to cough. Cough is always dark energy that is in the body that needs to come up. And you can work with this coughing with the methods I teach you in module 4. And sometimes coughing is also a replacement for words that don't want to be said. So instead of saying the words, they're coughing. So you have to find out which one it is. It's easy to find out because when somebody is coughing, you ask them, what do you want to say? you know, or do you want to say something? And then then they would, if they say, I think I really want to say, I see you, I can't see you, or anything, whatever, and then you know, okay, that, so now you got the sentence. Or no, I don't want to say it. I just feel really, I'm just dying. I have to cough all the time. Then that could be same as vomiting, dark energies that want to come out. All right. And then you work with that for a while, because sometimes you have to work with one representative, not relating to another, just with this representative to bring him to a state where he can or she can relate again. So you can go on with your constellation. And then laughing, that's a very interesting thing. So that can mean a lot, actually, and you need to be really observant with laughs. So some laughs can be quite inappropriate, and that is always a sign of superiority. You know, it's not happy, or it's not. So then you say somebody is not in its right place, it feels superior, although the order is a kind of that is somebody who came later. Same with smiling, it's a little laugh, so it doesn't need to be laugh, it can be smiling. And then, of course, you have this big smile of a relief. You know, that's a completely different smile. And or a laugh, like a relief, a freedom laugh. It's something really that comes from the heart. So you just be observant. You can see the difference when that is. And there was something else that I wanted to share. A story, a real life situation. What was it again? Ah, yeah, that was with so with this laughing, or also with coughing. When a representative tell you, "Oh, sorry," oh, they always feel so awful, you know. They say, "Oh, sorry, I have to cough. Sorry, I'm so sorry, I have to cough." And they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I have to cough. I have a cold or something," you know. That's not the case. That's not why they cough. Even people who have a cold and join a constellation, forget it, when they are connecting with the field, they wouldn't have the cough, even if they have a cold. You know, in this 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, when they're representing, they wouldn't cough. So if somebody is coughing, it is a sign guided by the field. So when or laughing or whatever, vomiting. So when the representative, they will immediately say to you, I'm so sorry, and they think that's them and they have to go out and they have to leave the room or whatnot, right? They say, no, you say, stay here. And you take it serious, whatever happens. It is it's information from the field. And then you work with it. When you start with this work, it is absolutely normal and understandable that you want to follow, that you want to take the people you are working with serious, and you want to, you know, when they say, "Oh, I have a cold, I'm so sorry, I want to go out and come back when I'm not coughing," and with that you say, "Yeah, okay, go," you know, you have this urge to let them. But it would be good if you don't, you know, if you work with the coughing and find out what the field wants to tell you, what this is about. Yeah. And then, of course, there is the power of no words. No words are very powerful. It is so quite hard to endure to hold the energy of silence. So it's also understandable when you begin the work that you're not comfortable with silence. That's totally fine. But with time, you will be more confident with silence, and then you can use it very deliberately. So if you if there's no word, you might don't see the dynamic, you don't see the relationship, and there's no word, you haven't tried, or you think no word that comes to your mind, no yes, no thank you, no please seems to be appropriate, then you sit back and wait and observe. And we may make an exercise when we have time about that at the end. To exercise, to be able to sit with somebody or without the urge to do anything. And to sit with somebody without the urge to do anything who is expecting you to do something. Right? Very powerful. And Bert has led complete family constellations with no words. Very impressive. But of course, he has an inner picture of everything that was going on. You know, and with his intent, he's guiding it, but not with words. He might go and move them a little bit around, but no words. Very powerful. So it's possible to do that. The next one is gestures. So we have hands. Obviously, we have the hands. So if you see a representative and they have connected with the fear, the first thing you look at is the person. And then you look, because that's before words, then you look at the gestures. So it's a fist, open hand, sweaty hand, tingling. They will show that, right? Some have the hands up, down. Everything gives away an emotion or a state of being or a thought or something or an experience, right? So obviously the fist is anger. Yeah, and sometimes it's subtle. So when you see a fist, it's always anger. It doesn't need to be clenched like crazy, you know, and it doesn't need to face like that. It's just, you know, a neutral face, and then you see, and then the arm hangs down at the body, and it's just a little bit of a fist. That's anger. So you have to see, okay, there's a perpetrator energy. Or maybe a child that has in fear, you know, anger and fear is the same thing. So you find out what it is. Maybe an interrupted movement to the mother or to the father, or a perpetrator, or something like that. Hands up is, how can I explain that? That's how can I explain that? When the hands come up, it's a little bit out of outer worldly. So somebody is not quite there. You know, it's a little bit not quite here. So there's something going on, a dynamic that is a kind of in other realms, taking this a little bit. So something grounding would be good here. You know, like do you feel your feet? You know, do you feel your feet, and can you move, or you know, or and then you know, you bring them down a little bit. And hands down, that is normally a sign of defendants. So it's a little bit, you know, defending themselves, trying to find ground, trying to find something to hold on to, or to lean on to, or something like that. So these are little gestures. The head is super important, probably more important than the hands, because that's what gives away where the dynamic goes, not the state of being of the person, but where the dynamic goes. So head up, we had that just before with Kate representing somebody we don't know who it is. Head up is always superiority. Yeah. So we are looking for somebody who feels superior. Head down, this was also Kate yesterday. Head down is somebody looking at the dead. So you're looking for victims. So head up, you're looking for the perpetrator in this person or in an entangler. Or head down is you're looking for the victims. So you put other representatives and see if you find the victims in them. Tilted head, insecurity. You know, sometimes somebody stands like this. That's insecurity. And then what else do we have? And then the head circling. That is so somebody's very lightheaded and doesn't really know, where to belong. So it's sometimes you see that, and the neck feels tight, and so these are often movements. They come to a halt as soon as you put another representative there, because they are kind of looking to relate to somebody. There. So if you sometimes, especially when you're a little bit advanced in your work, you want to look at an issue just by putting one representative up, so there has nobody to relate to, so you can see the energy, like pure. And if then you see this head movement, then you have to put somebody else there. You won't get any other information before this representative is not relating to somebody. Feet. They could stamp, or I don't know, tremors. Is that the right word when they do this? A little bit like this. Is that tremors? Tremors? Yeah, is that okay? So stamping feet is obviously anger. It's very often what it looks like. It's a little child who feels superior to the parents, who doesn't get what it wants. Yeah. If the feet is like this is it's a sign of trauma, of fear, trauma, that there's trauma in this energy field. Then if you look at the face, now this is also important. You see the smile. The smile is the same as the laughing. It could be either a smile of superiority and arrogance. Oh, I know it better, or it could be the smiling of heartwarming, relating to somebody, so that you have to take from the situation what it is. Frowning is a little bit, confused normally. Somebody's confused. Do you have a question, Mariella? No.
The position of the feet for someone who had trauma would be the tremors, did you say, or was a particular?
So if the foot is like not stamping, but it's shaking more, like it's shaking.
Shaking.
Yeah. Same with the hand, they can shake as well. They're also a sign of fear and trauma. So a face is frowning is, what did I say? I said frowning. Is confusion. So if you know all this sign, and if you are very observant, you don't need to ask the representatives how they feel, because you know it already. You see it exactly in the gestures. You can skip that step and go right further, right? So makes it more efficient. More efficient the constellation is as sooner you come to the point where you find the dynamic that you can heal, as better it is, obviously. So that's good to read the representatives, and then you don't need to ask them long questions. And also, you not be deceived by their stories, because if you start to ask representatives, especially these who are not experienced, they really want to talk. Then they think that's what they do. They think you know nothing, and they can tell you everything, because they are connected with the field, and now they tell you everything, and you don't want to know nothing of that. It's important for you. It's really interesting. So it's better to tell them at the beginning of a constellation. You only talk when I have to ask you. Right? And don't give them too much room. It's very dangerous. Sweat, when the face starts to sweat, that's obviously also a fear, but it's also a fear to be known, a fear to be so somebody's hiding something. It's hiding something, and the fear comes up that it comes out, whatever it is. As always, amplifying is a recipe to understand what's going on. So if it's a small gesture, like if somebody is kind of lifting the hand or what, then you say, what do you feel? What do you want to press here? Or, just ask him, what is this gesture? What is the next step of this gesture? If you don't see clearly what it means. and then it might shows clearly. And then you have the overall body language, which was impressive to see with Namchakti just now. You know, if the you know, say I want to go in the fetal position, or I want to lie on my back, or I want to lie on my belly or whatnot, that all tells something, but it's not always the obvious. So be aware not to you know, to be too quick with your assumptions. Yeah? Okay. Then we have eyes. Eyes are super important. First of all, I would ask everybody who's in a constellation, probably not online, but in a workshop setting, to take off the glasses, because they're always in the way when you're working with people, you know, and they might get actually also, they break. So that has happened quite often. So ask the people to take off the, if they have to have glasses, then obviously they can keep them on. But be handy if there's a strong dynamic where something happens, that you can take the glasses off of this person so it doesn't break. The other one is so the obvious thing is you look the overall body position, you look at the head, you look at the face, where's the face pointing to, and then you look in the eyes. So eyes closed. Although you asked them to open the eyes, this is what Ale had when she was this victim who was dead. Yeah. Eyes closed means normally dead. Like in 90% of the cases, it's dead, but it is a peaceful death. Yeah, Ale.
And can it mean disconnection as well?
Can, yes, it can. But then when you ask them to open the eyes, they can open the eyes. But if they are dead, they cannot open the eyes. They literally say, I can't open my eyes. If they are disconnected, they say, I don't want to open my eyes. I can, but I don't want to. Eye closed, standing, laying down. Why did I write that? So the eyes can be closed either when the representative is standing, or when he or she lies down. But it means practically the same thing. It always means it's a dead person who is quite at peace with the dead. No. So if you ask, so if somebody has the eyes open and cannot, somebody's standing up and has the eyes closed, and you ask them to open the eyes, and they say, I really can open my eyes. Then you ask them, do you want to lay down? And they would guarantee you say, oh yes, I would love to lay down. And then you would lay them down, and then they would be even more peaceful, right? So you know the dynamic much better. Eye contact can either be towards somebody, away from someone, up, down, or into the distance, right? So you know, if the eye contact is towards someone, there is a connection that you can then work with words. If somebody looks away, they are disconnected, and you can't work with it just now until they are connected, right? We talked about that. The eyes can be up, then people are looking literally into heaven. So when people are looking up, I am always inclined to put somebody up on a chair in front of them. See if they need God or an angel or an illusion of some sort. No? Always acknowledging what is, right? Always. And on down, we know that now, is looking at the dead. So when somebody's eyes are looking in the distance, they want to go, they want to die, they want to follow somebody. And if somebody cannot open the eyes, I just said that before, they are dead. Even so, and then you have the other deads that have the eyes open and they cannot close them, but they are dead. These are dead people. They are died in a sudden incident, accident, or murder, or something like that, or even a natural drama like an earthquake or something, that they died suddenly, and they do not know that they are dead. And they have their eyes open and they wander around. But what they really had to do is they just had to lay down and close their eyes, but they can't because they are trapped. The soul is trapped in the in-between world. Because it just, and this helps. So you need to let them wander around a little bit and work with the other dynamic. And when you found a good place where they can actually join some victims, some dead people, then you can say, "Come here, see if you can lay down with them," and they can. And then you tell them, close your eyes, and they said, "You are dead. Close your eyes. You are dead. You're dead like the others are." And then he would say, "Oh, really, really, really?" And then if they can close the eyes, then that was exactly what it was. And tears, obviously, tears. We have lots of tears. Tears are always good. It's really, there's no. I cannot think of any situation where tears are not okay. So let the tears always come. Encourage every representative to cry. Have always tissues handy, or if you have an online workshop, tell people to have tissues handy, so they don't need to leave the screen, the computer, and allow time for the tears to come, and don't interrupt that too early. The tears is great relief. It's one of the best ones you can get. And often tears haven't been cried for generations in this specific moment, and it's quite sacred, if these tears are coming. So to hold the space as a facilitator is the best. Never embrace a person that is crying. You're taking power away, and you're not allowing anybody else to embrace them, hug them, I don't know. You're taking the power away from this moment. That is in a very intimate moment where this person who is relieving these energies through tears stands on their own, right? Other than they are already in a dynamic with somebody and they are hugging already somebody, and then the tears come, of course, that's a different story. Then they can stay in the hug and cry. But if the tears just coming when they're on their own, just nobody's helped with when you go and grab them. Okay. And then we have movement. We have the movement towards a person. That's obviously somebody wants to connect, and that's often the movement we are looking for. That's the whole work, is to encourage the representative to find a way to move towards a person which they formerly couldn't move to. However, if they move away from a person, you have to observe, are they moving backwards or are they turning around and moving away? If they turn around and moving away, it's like a thank you. They have cleared the path, they have cut the cords, they are good to go, which is a good sign normally. But if they are moving backwards like this, they have not cut the cord or anything. It's more like going back into old or fear or something like that, something you need to work with. Yeah? Something that is not cleared. So it's important to see how they move away. If they move out of the door, that happens sometimes. So it's really good. It could be, most of the time, it's really, whatever is constellated there, they are done with. They can also just sit down on their chair, right? Sometimes you have to send somebody out of the door, and then let them stay there for a while. But if somebody wants to go out of the door, it's they're whatever energy they were in, or whatever representative they have been in, that's over, finished. So that's when you send somebody back to the seat. It's also happening when you feel that this representative is not needed anymore. Sometimes you have this. You work with representatives and one or even two or three are not in the dynamic, and then it's better then you ask them to sit them down again or go out of the constellation. Yeah, instead of kind of crowding the space with representatives that have nothing to do with it. Sometimes you want to know if a dynamic comes from the mother or the father side, and you put up for your client the mother and the father just to find out where the dynamic lies. And you see it's the father side, then you would take the mother away again, and she should sit down. And then you work just with the father side. Sitting down, I mean not on the seat, I mean in the constellation, that often means either it's a victim that's just understanding that it is a victim, or more common, it's a child. Often representatives want to sit down to make themselves smaller because they feel like they are a child. So if somebody wants to sit down, that's always okay. You know, of course, they should sit down. Lying down, they often lie down, you know, they start dead. Sitting down could also be dead, but the ones that are not resolved, the ones they still want to be acknowledged, they sometimes sit down as well and look at somebody. They could be either dead or children. You find that out with these powerful words. Lying down is normally dead. I don't think I've ever seen somebody lying down who wasn't dead. Sometimes they raise from the dead. They feel like they want to get up again, which is interesting. And just go with it. Just see what happens, you know. I remember a constellation where somebody got up and kind of toured twice, circled the constellation, and then laid down again for some reason. I wouldn't put too much yeah. Then we have another movement that is circling up, but that is another thing. If a person is circling, like without lying down, just circling either around themselves, himself or herself, or circling around the group or part of the group, or up and down circling, this you need to be very careful with. This is a sign of schizophrenia, of psychosis, and you cannot work with this. Bert Hellinger has always interrupted a constellation when psychosis comes up and said, that's it. We're not going any further. Because psychosis is really difficult to treat in any way, and especially in family constellation. It doesn't work. Because you can't clear, like, how can I put it? You can't clear the entanglement because the entanglements are opposing each other. You know, that's oddly connected, and it's very difficult. They would not. That has no effect. So this is why I let everybody sign before they come on a workshop that they have no mental impairment. Because if I see somebody with a psychosis in the workshop, I would just I would say to him he has to leave, and I would turn him off. I don't know whether Ale remembers one of the workshops. I don't know, Mariella, if you were there.
Which one?
We had a workshop in Strathean where this person that I don't want to mention now by name, a woman, was running down to the kitchen and out all the time, coming back and screaming.
Yeah,
Remember?
I remember. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
Mariella wasn't there. You remember?
No, yeah, Mariela wasn't there.
Ah, yeah. Okay. So that was a psychosis. That was a mentally impaired person, and she can destroy your whole workshop. And of course, you cannot be deceived that you think that's a dynamic. You know, that's not a dynamic. That's a psychosis, right? And that's not in the representative. That's actually in the person. And they also always tell you they can't get out of their role. No wonder, because they were never been in the role. They were always playing themselves, you know. So it's no good news if you have somebody with a psychosis in the room. So you can only do so much, but then you at one stage you have to say, you know, you have to leave the room. So better not to invite them, and never think you can help them. You cannot. Not even Bert Hellinger helped them. You know. Okay. Okay, we are coming to a good closing. Before we come to the closing, what was I saying that if we have time we want to do? Because we don't have time for that. But I just want to remember for next time. But if we have forgotten about it, I will.
You said briefly give an explanation each one's words about the motor
It's silence and no words, right? Yes. Now I remember. Thank you, Nafta. So we will do that next module. Or yeah, next module, or when we next module we do that. Very good. So I will remember that. We will give silence. We practice to stay in silent in a constellation situation. So now we come to the closing, and in closing I have chosen a quote from a German poet, Rainer Maria Rilke. Anybody knows him? Very famous.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Very good. And of course the German words are brilliant, but the English translation I think is nice too. And he was a favorite author for Bert Hellinger. He was quoting him all the time, and he was citing him, and he was reading his books. He was obsessed with Rainer Maria Rilke for a good reason, because very spiritual and mature poetry from him that went very much in line with family systems and what was going on there. So I would like to read that out for you. If you have this love for what is humble, and try very simple as someone who serves to win the confidence of what seems poor, then everything will become easier for you, more coherent and somehow more reconciling. Not in your conscious mind perhaps, which stays behind, astonished, but in your innermost awareness, awakeness, and knowledge. Be patient with all that is unsolved in your heart, and love the questions themselves. Like locked rooms and like books that are written in a very foreign tongue. Do not seek the answers which cannot be given you, because you would not be able to live them. The questions have a life of their own. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Then someday you will gradually, without even noticing it, have been living your way into the answers. And that's what I wish you to do with all the questions you have about family constellation. Let it sink. Don't try to answer them. It's not the time. All right? Okay. So we will have a catch up next Sunday, like we did last time, with a better time for Nam Shakti in the morning. Is that okay for everybody? That would be Saturday afternoon for Nam Shakti, like 6-ish. Yeah? Are you all here on Sunday?
What time will it be for us?
Say 10?
I'm traveling next week, but I will attempt.
It's not long. Maybe you'll be on the phone.
Okay.
Just catching up.
Okay.
A little bit. Yeah. Awesome. So sleep well. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. To all the fathers and the sons and daughters. Bye.